Risk profile. Man, am I excited about this episode. We are getting a chance to sit down with Thomas Page. He's a native Texas son who's had to leave Texas to pursue a career in biotechnology until his alma mater, A&M, called him up with an opportunity to lead a engineering for a public-private partnership for biotechnology here in Texas. He's jumped at it and is now leading the effort to manufacture the Novavax vaccine right here in Texas. Thomas, glad to have you on the show.
Mark, really appreciate you inviting us and giving us a chance to talk about, the really exciting stuff that's going on.
Well, we are super excited. Our listeners, I'm sure, are going to be really engaged to hear what's really happening. Obviously, there's a whole lot of excitement surrounding coronavirus vaccinations right now, but we're looking forward to seeing what comes out. So first off, how did you get into something like biotechnology? It sounds kind of scary. Did you just get lucky somehow along the road?
Well, it's a sort of a strange story, but it's my story. And just like all of us, we kind of wind our way, as we've worked in our fields, over multiple decades. With modern America, you never really have one job in your life. You've always got to be increasing your skills. You got to keep moving forward. Your, lifelong learning is absolutely critical to modern life. And so I went to Texas A&M, and I was just really interested in a lot of different things. So I ended up getting a biochemistry degree and a chemical engineering degree. So my professors on both sides thought I was nuts for wasting my time with those other people. And I ended up co-oping for a company on the West Coast that was doing some really interesting things in the early days of monoclonal antibody manufacturing and looking at antibody drug conjugates. And I really caught the biotech bug. And then I went to Rice University and did a PhD where I studied microcirculatory oxygen transport, if you could believe that. And that led me into working on blood substitute products. And when AIDS, before we had, great screening for that and drug therapies for that. And, before we really got the blood supply to be really safe again. So that really got into the development side of, biologics. And so was in Boston, then I was out in California, and then I was back in Boston, and then eventually had an opportunity to come back to a public-private partnership with Texas A&M and got into basically national defense using biotechnology.
That's the stuff of science fiction. When you were graduating from Rice, did you have an opportunity to apply your skill set here in Texas at the time?
So no, actually, it was really very few to no options here. So, in Texas, really at that time, we had great research institutions, a lot of discovery. If you wanted to do clinical investigations, you could work in the state. But if you wanted to really be in the applied biotechnology part, which as an engineer, so it's kind of, okay, so you do a PhD, and it's really, there's a lot of science and discovery and so on. But as an engineer, you always have the call to, okay, what is the applied output of this information? So I always felt a bit tugged doing a PhD in engineering. So how am I going to deploy this knowledge? And my professor really wanted me to, become a professor and sort of have my academic career mapped out. But I felt the call to go into applied, biotechnology. So
absolutely. So you then continue to develop your career, and you get to a certain point. All of a sudden, Texas calls you and says, "Hey, come back." Is that kind of how it went?
Yeah. So I was sitting in my office in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I was looking out the window at a foot of snow, contemplating my hour and a half commute back to the suburbs. And the phone rang, and I was a recruiter, and it said, "How would you like to come back to Texas, more specifically into the Texas A&M CIADM, and to basically help set up preparedness manufacturing for, bioterrorism or emerging disease states. And I just sort of laughed and said, probably the only person within 1,000 miles of the end of this call who wouldn't be hanging up right now. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
So that was an opportunistic call. It just kind of like advertising that just kind of gets your attention right there as you're sitting there, or is it engaging something deeper?
So a couple things. So my father is a retired trauma surgeon, and he was a flight surgeon in the Air Force. So I grew up as an Air Force brat. And so I had often earlier in my life considered going into the Air Force. And also, how do I give national service? And so I had gone a different route, but this sort of scratched that itch to sort of deploy the skills that I had gained over several decades, but also deploy it to, helping the country. And it's an Aggie call to service, and so it just checked a lot of boxes. So it's a great opportunity.
When you were graduating from college or from your PhD at Rice, you get now a chance to hire the biotechnologists behind you and kind of fold them in. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. So we're part of our mission and definitely is to grow the applied bioscience and biotechnology and manufacturing here. So to do that, it's really important in biotech. Experience is really, really critical. So we did sort of international searches. So there were some Texans who had gone off in their careers and then wanted an opportunity to come back. And then we also brought in people from all over the world to work. And as you build out the very experienced levels, then you've got the opportunity to now come in underneath and fill in with, recent graduates or folks that have experience from other industries, pull them in, train them, bring them on board. And at this point, we are well over 500 employees on our site. Wow. So we are making a major, major impact in the Brazos Valley economy.
Super exciting. And it wasn't just, you then took this small team and led them through an acquisition by Fujifilm at somewhere around there, right?
So I lead is a strong word. Let's say I assisted the CEO at that time to help sell the company. And there was we put ourselves out there and hosted a number of folks doing due diligence, and Fujifilm was by far and away our first choice, and think, they ended up, winning and buying the company, and then it's just been off to the races ever since. So great company.
So when you took this opportunity in the first place, you're leaving a West Coast, East Coast, good opportunity. You're leaving a good situation, and you're going to Texas for this potential good situation that has turned out to be very, very good. But early on, I'm sure you were considering that, hey, this could have been potentially a dead end, or maybe nothing will come out of this. How did that feel?
Well, so there's different levels of analysis you need to do, right? So is the juice worth the squeeze? We always, wonder that as we're going through the ups and downs of daily life. But if the mission is sufficiently important to you, to your values, then you will, go through those challenges, right? And then the other way to look at it is, am I gaining? So on a personal note, so there's a personal point. There's a point that you're doing to serve your local community, your state, your nation, and so on. So are you serving those? And then as you do those, are you gaining an experience to move forward? Because as long as you're learning and increasing your skill set and your talent stack, then really it's not a risk. I always tell folks that I had recruited a lot of people into equity finance biotech companies over the years. And I said, yeah, we're a startup. there's a high upside. We could fail, and hopefully, if we're going to fail, I hope we fail fast so we don't waste investor money, right?
Yeah.
But as long as you're gaining skills, your stability is within the industry. As long as you're prepared to move where the opportunities are, and it's just a mindset that you have to have.
That's so fascinating. And in a lot of ways, as you've kind of joined the startup here in Texas, this facility that you're in charge of the engineering for is contract manufacturing for these, biological products, right? Kind of like a cloud facility in the same way that AWS really helps startups across the world get their products to market. How is what you're doing? What's that relationship like with the companies that come use your facility?
Well, it's really fantastic. So one of the great things about being in a CDMO is you get exposed to a lot of new technologies. You get exposed to a lot of great companies that are, pursuing really incredible drugs, whether it's treatment of, genetic birth defects or different approaches to immunizing against cancer. There's a whole, variety of different types of products that we are developing and manufacturing for our clients using all kinds of different platforms. We do a lot with monoclonal antibodies. We're doing a lot in gene therapy. We're doing a lot in live viral products for could be vaccines and all of that. And then the great part about that is you really get to meet a lot of these really bright people, and you get to see the passion that they have. And this is these products that they're making. In some ways, you can think of it as like this is their kid. And then they're putting them into your hands to take them forward. And so it's an enormous amount of responsibility.
Wow. Yeah.
And we always say it's, we're not just making another kind of toothpaste here, right? We're actually doing things kind of that important. Really impact, really affect a lot of people's lives. And, Absolutely.
So when the news of COVID broke, right? Almost a year ago now. Where were you sitting? What did you think? What were your thoughts?
So when it was sort of breaking out in China, I'm like, this is not going to be contained.
Immediately you knew that this was going to go downhill. Oh my God.
With modern mobility and flights and transport and airborne viruses, I think there's been a lot of near misses over the last 20 years.
Sure.
H1N1 did kill quite a number of people. So, and we knew a lot about this because part of the facilities that we designed in College Station were about being able to have fast response for vaccine manufacturing. So I think the primary thought there was that it was more than likely to be some sort of a pandemic flu virus, rather than this whole completely novel virus which came out. Same principles apply, and the manufacturing platforms are very similar. So we had to set up to be able to handle a huge number of different methodologies and to very flexibly respond. So always in the back of our mind at the Fuji Diosynth Biotechnology, Texas, we wanted to be prepared and know, what we would do. So whenever we build up our infrastructure, our facility, our capacity, our platforms, equipment platforms and procedures, we want to make sure that we're serving our commercial, clients, but also to be able to use our facilities in case of national need. So
sure. So national needs upon you at this point, and you win the contract to manufacture the Novavax vaccine. What was your first step? What did you have to do from that point?
So there was a whole variety of things. So the Fuji Diosynth Biotechnology is a multi-site, multinational subsidiary of the bigger, Fujifilm parent company. So we have sites in the UK, we have a site in Denmark, we have a site in Texas, we have a site in North Carolina. And so we're actually responding across our network. So it was really a whole thing. We had designed a large capital expansion plan, and we were starting to roll pieces of it out. So what we ended up doing was doing it all at once in parallel, basically at warp speed, really. Yeah, it's been a great challenge, a great experience, but we're actively manufacturing in facilities and equipment which did not exist in the end of last July.
Wow.
Think about that. So we devised a method to construct in 3 different levels across our facility at the same time. So we chose a clean room technology that allowed us to work on ground level in an interstitial space and on a mechanical mezzanine simultaneously. We had the Army Corps of Engineers come in as an assistance from Operation Warp Speed to basically assess the methodologies. And they basically said that it was impossible to get any higher labor density in terms of construction than what we were doing. Wow. And we managed to do all of that well over 100,000 man hours with no accidents. So that's something we're really proud of.
Wow.
So yeah, so we looked at, so there were a number of vaccine technologies that were posed to us. We looked them for fit and deployment within the facility efficiency. We devised sort of an equipment and facility strategy to optimize the throughput for the particular vaccine. So they're the technology providers, and then we work very closely with them and different groups in the government, in particular BARDA and Operation Warp Speed, to get all this going. Well, and I should mention vendors and electrical contractors, mechanical construction contractors, our equipment vendors,
all
consumable vendors. It's a really complex undertaking, just physically to do it, but also to get alignment across all these different stakeholders. So, and then I must say the City of College Station, City of Bryan have been absolutely fantastic in supporting fast review of permits and so on. So it's really it's a demonstration of the can-do Texas attitude, I would say.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what is your message to the future kind of biotech entrepreneurs behind you? Is Texas legit at this point? Do you have to move somewhere else to get your idea off the ground?
Absolute. No, I think some people say third coast, right? So this is real. Because like I said, we've always had the great science and discovery. And then biotech is really dependent on, experience. And also in any industry, there's always some risk aversion. So when you're creating a new nucleation point somewhere, someone has to go first. And I think, we're not the only folks. There's been some other folks that come into Texas, but I'm going to talk about Fujifilm because I'm, Fujifilm Dyson because I'm particular to that. But we've demonstrated an ability to bring clients in and to drive this forward, and we've developed 40-acre campus at this point in College Station, and continually looking at additional investments and expansions. And I would say the proof is here. Yeah. We have so just from let's say a siting perspective, you could look at a few things. We have a robust electrical grid. So I worked in Southern California and I had to deal with my power getting turned off randomly. That's a disaster. And I don't want to knock other places. So let's talk about good stuff about Texas. So robust, power grid. We've got low cost energy. It's a very energy intensive industry to
Sure.
to deal with, and we have access to great universities and great community colleges and junior colleges. So the talent is here, the want to is here, and
Yeah.
we're off. I don't think there's any stopping it now.
Awesome. Well, super encouraging message to everyone. And, as an entrepreneur, it's nice to see somebody that's been able to be part of the beginning of a new way of doing things here in Texas. That's perfect.
But, it was really interesting. So when we were purchased by Fujifilm, one of the most senior people within the company actually came to the site and gave a presentation, and I didn't quite know what to expect.
Sure.
And I was just blown away because I'm sort of expecting sort of a message from a very serious, very traditional, Japanese company. And what we got was basically a lecture, could have been right out of Wharton Business School. It was really entrepreneurial. It was really, pushing people forward to bring value up and to basically drive forward and drive great ideas up into the organization and across to continue to grow, change, and improve. And I had my mouth open. I thought,
Wow.
wow, this is not what I expected, and I was really excited by that. But I guess it should be obvious because you're talking about a film company that's now bigger than it ever was before, and
Yeah.
there are other film companies which have not fared so well. So they're really diversified and had to by necessity innovate and activate the entrepreneurial genes and move forward. So
Awesome.
Just for me real quick, what does this large facility really look like? Because I'm imagining like a combination of like a science fiction laboratory with like lean manufacturing, like design of like a facility. What does this place really look like? Because Mark and I would love to visit, but there's a pandemic. I don't know if you've heard.
Yeah. So when this is over, we'll be happy to host you through.
Yes.
And we, as we were starting the facility before we brought it online, we actually did a lot of community outreach and did a lot of tours for folks to understand, what we're doing. I would say one word adjective: it's very clean, right? And obviously it's very organized. And you're right, it is lean and it is set up for high throughput manufacturing. We have quite a number of innovative facilities on our campus here that are designed to do all of the traditional biotech things while maintaining containment and segregation. So I mentioned we do work with gene therapy products. It's really the future of medicine to correct genetic birth defects or other issues that are out there. We know a lot of them that are out there. Hemophilia, various kinds of hemophilia, or muscular dystrophy. There's a whole classes of disease states that require that. So we're handling gene therapy vectors. So we've got to keep them contained. So we have all the normal biotechnology controls plus a whole lot more. And then we need to be able to move materials and get this manufacturing done in a very efficient manner, a very controlled manner, and in a way that we can 100%, demonstrate that we're not getting, let's say, the peanut butter and the chocolate, right?
Yeah.
So we don't want to get the peanut butter and the chocolate mixed up. So
yeah. Well, excellent. Well, again, really appreciate your time. Is there, if somebody wants to reach out or kind of hear more about your story, where do they go?
Absolutely. We can hit our website, Fuji Diosynth Biotechnologies, and we have quite a lot of information up there. We present a lot at conferences, and we're here. So if you need pretty much any kind of biologics development or manufacturing, reach out to us. And if we can't support you within the Texas site, we can certainly support you off any of our other sites. So.
Well, thank
Awesome.
you, Thomas, once again. Thank you for being on the podcast. We really appreciate it. We've learned a lot, and you're helping fight the COVID fight, and that is just remarkable. This is beyond frontline.
Yeah.
This is like, the large scale. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just, thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
what we thank you, and what we told our team was, this is going to be tough. This is, it's a sprinting marathon all rolled into one. And you're going to stay up a lot and you're going to work really hard. But, it's a great privilege to have an opportunity to punch back against this disease, to help protect those who, need protection and can't help themselves. So I think it really drives people forward. And, we have employees that have been awake, for most of the last year. So,
wow. So inspiring. All right, guys out there, go be someone.
Yeah. Just follow us on LinkedIn, subscribe, leave us a review. If you would like to reach out to Thomas, please visit him on his website. If you would like to give us feedback, please email me and Mark. We look forward to hearing more from you guys. This has been Risk Profile. Be someone.